Hello everybody, my name is Mikio Wakabayashi. Professor Fang said that my name is hard to pronounce. Mikio Wakabayashi from Tokyo, Waseda University. Thank you for inviting me for this nice conference. And this is title of my speech today, More Than the Bay Area. Roland Barthes once said in a speech in 1947 that whoever is planning to draw the semiotics of city must be a geographer, historian, urban planner, architect, and possibly psychoanalyst as a specialist of semiology. Following these words of Barthes, I'm able to say the following. Whoever is planning to analyze intelligent urban fabric must be a geographer, sociologist, urban planner, political scientist, as a specialist of information technology. However, I'm not such a person. I'm only a sociologist who has been working in the field of urban studies and media studies. In the overlapping area of urban research and media research, I wrote some papers and books. And my research interest is just like this. The purpose of this keynote speech is not to talk about the analysis of the emergence of intelligent urban fabric. Instead, I will focus on the following three topics. First, I would like to examine the concept of urban fabric comparing with the concept of city. Secondly, I will introduce one of my recent research projects on shopping malls in order to provide some examples that will help us better understand some aspects of urban space in urban fabric today. Thirdly, I will introduce another of my research projects, the study of Tokyo Bay Area, and I will try to make further consideration about the Tokyo Metropolitan area as urban fabric. As you know, urban fabric is a concept proposed by Henri Lefebvre in his books. The concept of urban fabric is related to the Lefebvre's distinction between city, ville, and urban. And this distinction is related to the morphological and structural change of cities after the 20th century. As Max Weber examined, cities in the European sense have been not only the relatively big settlement, but also political communities of the citizens. Such political community was called polis in ancient Greece and commune or Gemeinde in medieval Europe. Therefore, the concept of city has meant both physical structure of settlement consisting of buildings, streets, plazas, and wards, and social community consisting of citizens. Since the era of citizen revolution, the concept of citizen has been expanded, and as a result, city has also become a metaphor of governance in a broader sense. Today, the word citizen generally means people with autonomous right of the nation state, and it sometimes refers to the people who are actively involved in the public domain beyond the national border, such a global citizen. As mentioned before, Lefebvre has made a distinction between city and urban. He used the term urban as a social principle that goes beyond an attribution to a specific place or group, allowing people, things, information to be transported, encountered, and exchanged. Within cities, urban social principle enables coexistence of communication of various different communities and social groups. cities also have enabled social, economic, political, and cultural exchange and transport between cities, regions, and states. And as a metaphor, it's possible to imagine, think, manipulate, and govern regional society. Through the industrialization of society, the connection between the urban principle, industrial social principle, and the nation-state produced industrial cities. However, this connection also promoted the, through the industrialization of society, the connection between urban social principle, industrial social principle, and nation-state produced industrial cities. However, this connection also promoted modern urbanization, which destroys the traditional form and general organization of cities, both internally and externally. In the modern industrial society, while the city as a metaphor of governance has been expanded to a large regional society, such as nation-state and global society, the urban has overflown from the regional city and has lost its physical form. In 19th century Europe, this form of urbanized city has become to be called a big city, in French, grande ville, or in German, Großstadt. And in the 20th century, Jan Gottman called the chain of roughly adjacent metropolitan areas, which may be somewhat separated or may merge into a continuous urban region, megalopolis. The concept of urban fabric describes exactly this kind of situation. Fabric literally means clothes produced by weaving and knitting textile fiber. What are the fiber in the case of urban fabric? They are transportation people, goods, vehicles, information, roads, railways, waterworks, and gas pipes, electric wires, and so on. And the urban activities of people who live in the area are weaving and knitting urban fabric. Moreover, the dissemination of digital information network from the end of the 20th century made the extension of the urban fabric into virtual space possible. Urban fabric today is a hybrid of a real and virtual, the physical and the informational. If we use urban fabric instead of city as a metaphor for governance, what kind of new understanding about the society and cities can be obtained? In order to give suggestions for the answer to this question, we have to examine the social spatial structure of contemporary urban fabric. So I'd like to introduce my work about the shopping malls. This is a kind of official explanation of shopping mall, what is shopping mall, by Japan Council of Shopping Centers. It's wrong. Instead of this explanation, I'd like to introduce more literary explanation by a novelist, Japanese novelist. This is my book. Book about shopping malls. This is one of the shopping malls in Makuhari area, Chiba Prefecture. This is a phrase from the novel by Mikio Wakabayashi, she is one of the leading novelists of contemporary Japan. In the novel entitled Area Garden, a high school student girl talks about a shopping mall in a new town near Tokyo, where she lives with her family as follows. The shopping mall is a Tokyo of this town, is a Disneyland of this town, is the airport and the foreign country of this town, is a recreational facility and the employment office. The shopping mall is like Tokyo because it is a functional and symbolic equivalent for Tokyo for the people who live in the suburbia or in a local town. They enjoy shopping there almost the same as they are in Tokyo. There are almost the same shops, almost the same cafes, almost the same restaurants as in the department and store of shopping centers in downtown Tokyo. And the shopping mall is like Disneyland because it's like a theme park whose theme is something more fashionable, more enjoyable, more safe and more hygienic than the downtown streets of real cities. It's like a foreign country, not only because there are brand shops and cafes from abroad, but also because the inside of shopping malls are like an imitation of a foreign downtown area for Japanese. It is like an airport because people take off from their everyday life into the world of consuming images, signs, and symbols. And it is like a recreational facility and employment office because it gives a second chance to boys and girls who drop out of education or training, and it offers jobs to the inhabitants of the town. I think this is an excellent description and analysis of the function and the topological position of shopping mall in the contemporary urban fabric. When viewed from the inside, as mentioned above, shopping malls are at least like the shopping streets of the city center and amusement facilities such as Disneyland for consuming who visit them. Today, some shopping malls include branch offices of local government, cram schools, cultural centers, fitness clubs, and so on, and its function is not limited to so-called shopping. People visit shopping malls not only for shopping, but also for dating, walking, exercising, visiting public offices or medical doctors, or just to kill time. Shopping malls are a simulation of traditional urban spaces in its internal form of architecture, and at the same time, it serves as an alternative to the city center. And when viewed from the outside, many shopping malls look like big warehouses or factory buildings with huge, almost windowless outer walls. Like this, like this. In many cases, in the architectural form, shopping malls are self-contained spaces that separate the interior from the surrounding urban environment. Therefore, it seems as if in shopping malls, the outside and the inside of urban space are reversed. However, these self-contained buildings are nodes within the contemporary urban fabric. They are woven into the fabric of the transportation network of people and goods. So, is the shopping mall becoming the new center replacing the old city center? Well, I think a yes and no. In terms of functioning and community life, shopping malls can perform almost the same function as old center. But their position within the social spatial organization of society is different. As Kakta illustrates in her novel, the shopping mall is something like a whole that connects the local society with the representation of spaces such as Tokyo, Disneyland, or foreign countries. The shopping mall is a space of flow. Space of flow is the concept of Manuel Castells. Space of flow operated by domestic and global companies. It is useful to remember that George Ritzer, a sociologist of America, describes the social characteristic of the shopping mall as homogeneity, heterogeneity. On the one hand, it is heterogeneous because it connects a variety of shops, restaurants, cafes. It contains a variety of shops, restaurants, cafes, other retail and service facilities. On the other hand, it is homogeneous because every shopping mall is very similar in its appearance and contents. You can find the same brand and the same shops in every shopping malls all over the world. The architectural form of shopping malls resembles one another. When shopping malls are located in specific area of the suburbia or local town, they are socially open to the space of flow, space of production, consumption, and distribution by global capital. We can call such space the global common space, maybe, but as a global common space at the same time global public space. In this case, public means in the sense of like Hannah Arendt or Jürgen Habermas. Another important difference between shopping malls and old city center is the way in which they function as common space or public space. Common and public space such as plaza, squares, parks, boulevards, and streets are managed and controlled by public or semi-public agents such as city governments and local communities. In contrast, shopping malls are managed and controlled by private entities such as developers, retail companies, and so on. For the visiting consumers, the shopping mall is a common and public space just like plaza, squares, parks, boulevards, and streets. But for the developer and shop owners and other companies involved in the shopping mall, it is a private space managed and controlled by them for the profit. Today's Japanese shopping mall includes public facilities such as branch offices of local government, and it is also a venue for festival and municipalities of local communities. Regarding this aspect of shopping mall, in our book, Professor Yoshitaka Nang of University of Meiji pointed out that it is an example of a new public that facilitates private enterprises function as a public infrastructure. Sharon Zukin, professor of New York City University, mentioned urban redevelopment methods such as BID. BID is a Business Improvement District in New York City as an example of such privatization of public and common space. In this respect, we can regard the shopping mall as a purified model of a new public in the age of neoliberalism. Nang also points out that many methods of architecture and human engineering are adapted in order to control the traffic access to shopping malls, human traffic inside the malls, and other human behavior and consciousness in the malls. Nango and Ryuji Fujimura is a young architect, call such application of engineering method in building and urban environment engineeringisms. According to the argument, engineeringistic control is the method for the governance of contemporary urban environments such as shopping malls. Several authors, including Hiroki Azuma, call this type of social methods of control power operating through the environment management. Adding to that, digital information technology applied for consumer management, product management, and labor management, and a vast amount of data of visitor behavior is collected and accumulated. The comfort and safety of today's shopping mall are based on the use of several engineering technologies. This is another aspect of engineeringistic governance. Big data collected by these systems is used for product development, store design, tenant management, and space design, and to enhance the comfort and safety, efficiency, and profitability of shopping malls. The space managed in this way links people's action with the interests of the capital by collecting data of people's behavior and desires and creating an environment corresponding to them. So now I'm going to introduce our ongoing research project on the Tokyo Bay area. Tokyo Bay area actually refers to the coastal area inside the Tokyo Bay from the tip of the Boso Peninsula, and to the tip of Miura Peninsula. Miura Peninsula is here. However, in more limited sense, here I will use the term Tokyo Bay area referring to the coastal area from Chiba City to Yokohama through Tokyo and Kawasaki City. Since the 1980s, in order to respond to the post-industrial change of society and the transition of regional structure of the city, districts that combine the functions of business, consumption, tourism, and living were developed on the landfill of Tokyo Bay area. The newly developed districts are called in Japanese Fukutoshin, or Shintoshin. In English, it is a new city center or sub-center of the city. And there are Makuhari Shintoshin in Chiba, and Rinkai Fukutoshin in Tokyo, and Minato Mirai 21 means 21st century, in Yokohama. The official English name of Rinkai Fukutoshin used by the Tokyo Metropolitan government is Tokyo Waterfront City. Therefore, we shall call it TWC in this speech. Here, I would like to consider the socio-spatial characteristic of the Tokyo Bay area with TWC as the main case. Kengo Kuma, one of the world-famous architects of Japan, once said the following about the TWC in an interview. Walking in Odaiba is not fun at all for me. Odaiba is the name of the main district of the TWC. Walking in Odaiba is not fun at all for me. I feel frustrated to stay or spend time in such an urban space where blocks were completely separated by the road. I have a similar impression of Odaiba and the central area of TWC as Kuma. Yes, this is Odaiba area. This is not from New York, from Paris. The large building and facilities in this area are closed inward, with the interior containing the urban environment and urban activities, while the external space remains yawning void. Let me give you an example. There is a bridge named Yume-no Ohashi. Yume-no Ohashi. Yume-no Ohashi. In English, the Great Bridge of Dreams. I think the space and landscape around this bridge are characteristic of how space is arranged in the TWC. Although it is right next to the city center of Tokyo and is in the very center of the TWC, it is a place where you can feel as if you are outside the city. The sky is wide, and close to the bridge, a wedding ceremony complex imitating Western townscapes with a church, and this is a membership club shaped like a huge glass wall, Arche de Triomphe, lined up as if they were relevant to each other. This is a membership club, and this is a wedding complex. You rarely pass people on the bridge. You rarely pass the people on the bridge. It is a vast urban space lacking the traditional character of urban spaces where people are coming and going or gather in common common public spaces. Here, the space between and around the buildings and facilities only serves the purpose of margin or background. Normally, urban space is not only the internal space of building and facilities in an urban area, but also spaces such as streets, boulevards, and plazas where people gathers, and where some kind of human interaction takes place. However, in the TWC, such an urban space is enclosed in the building and facilities as it is the case in shopping malls. And the external space is left as a space that only serves as a background or margin of them. I once called such a way of arranging urban spaces marginalization of urban space. In the case of the traditional or classical city, spaces such as streets, boulevards, and plazas was indispensable for the city to be a city. The urban in Lefebvre's sense is based on such public and common spaces. But in today's urban fabric, people can live their urban life without such public and common spaces between and around the building and the facilities, because the space of flow, space of transportation and information, the global common space sustained the urban there. The urban, in the sense of Henri Lefebvre, has disappeared or evaporated from physical and constructive urban space. It can be called urban space without the urban in physical. Let's consider this from another aspect. Kevin Lynch, an American urban designer, once discussed about the image of the city. The image of the city, in the sense of Kevin Lynch, is a psychological image constructed from the element in urban space, such as node, path, district, edge, and landmark. Lynch studied the image of the city because he thought that city with high imageability and legibility is a good city for its inhabitants. In case of the central area of Tokyo, elements such like the Yamanote line This is a railway, around the center of Tokyo. And the Imperial Palace, the Ginza Avenue, and downtown area like Shinjuku, Shibuya, and Ikebukuro are shaping the collective image of the cities for the people who live in Tokyo. What about the image of the TWC? If you take a look at the map of TWC, Yume no Ohashi, and wide pedestrian street that extend at the end of the bridge seems like the path in Kevin Lynch says that makes up the axis of the area. However, there are few people walking over the bridge and through the streets. They do not actually function as an axis of the city. So they are not well positioned as element in the image of the city of the area. For many people, Odaiba is a district in Kevin Lynch sense. The post-modern building of Fuji Television designed by Kenzo Tange and the Ferris wheel of Pallet Town are landmarks in Lynch's sense. The Odaiba district have a relatively clear image in the TWC, but the image of topographical or topological relation between other area and facilities in the TWC is not clear. So it is hard to have a complete image of the TWC. Someone may claim that the Odaiba district is the center of TWC. But what does center means here? It is not a character like a plaza or a boulevard, like a traditional cities. Because TWC is too wide to move on foot. People move between facilities using Yurikamome line. It is a transit system that resembles a tram or a monorail, or by bus or by car. As a result, although one can imagine TWC itself as a wide area, where various facilities are dispersed, it is difficult to form the image of the city as a topographical or topological structure of the existing facilities in the area. This area is too vast to grasp it with our own eyes or our own bodies. Since it is difficult to grasp the image of the city even inside the TWC, it is almost impossible to see or realize the image of the wider area around it. The urban space of the TWC and the Tokyo Bay area are not only the urban space without the urban, but also the urban space without the image of the city, and ultimately an invisible urban space. However, in the contemporary urban fabric, is it necessary to have an image of the city and share it? The answer is maybe no. By using traffic system and information technology, such as navigation system installed in mobile phones and automobile, we can find our ways in the urban environment and can orient ourselves in it without the image of the city. Here, it is useful to recall what we are doing at the shopping mall. In the big shopping mall, we often lose sight of where we are in the building. However, such a thing is not a problem at all, because we can shop, eat, watch movies, even if we don't know the whole image of the shopping mall. I'm sorry. I argued earlier that the shopping mall is a reversed urban space of outside and inside. The TWC is like reverse huge shopping malls of outside and inside. There is a backyard in the shopping malls that cannot be seen by shoppers. Likewise, in the TWC and the Tokyo Bay area, harbors, warehouses, and logistic facilities supporting urban life are operated without even being noticed by many people living in the metropolitan area. So, at the beginning of this speech, I referred to the word of Roland Barthes in a lecture on semiotics and urban theory. In that lecture, Barthes argues that a city is a text like a textile of signs, and that is meaning that its meaning effect is produced in particular at the center of the city, where people concentrate and meet others. The etymology of text is textile, which has a semantic affinity with the urban fabric we are discussing here. However, with regard to the urban fabric today, the case studies here on shopping malls and the Tokyo Bay area suggest findings different from the consideration on Barthes. In the contemporary urban fabric, unlike classical cities, the urban is dispersed widely, mediated by transport and information network. We discuss this condition of urban fabric through the term urban space without the urban space without the image of the city, and invisible urban space. The basis of contemporary urban fabric the basis of contemporary urban fabric are the system of transportation, the information, and land that was the basis of the classical cities is still essential, but its role has become smaller than ever. As a case of the shopping mall shows, privatization of the public sphere by private enterprises is proceeding there. People's daily life is still being operated on the land, but also in the global common space, which does not occupy the place on the land space. We have to consider, we have to consider the governance for common today on the premise of such socio-spatial condition of our city and society. Well, thank you for listening.